I remember going to a school only for a couple of years, junior high, and there were twins that went there, and they were very much identical. But looking back on it, I remember very quickly adapting to knowing who was who just by looking at them when I came in the morning. They had very different personalities, and even though they were identical, and even before they spoke or acted, like a lot of people, I could just tell who was who. It's kind of interesting looking back on that now. And it also leads into our story here. Identical twins? What's the best swapping places you've done? Story 1. My dad's twin, when he was younger and still living at my grandparents' house with his twin, played this prank. So some Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on the door one day. He decided to have a bit of fun, so he pretended to be interested in what they had to say for a few minutes. He told them he had some errands to run, but he was very interested and could they come back tomorrow. They probably hadn't had a bite in ages, so they were very keen and asked what time. He told them as early as they can, as he only has time in the morning. He also said his parents might answer the door, so just asked for twin's name. Now, Dad's twin was the opposite of a morning person. He was in his party phase where he would go clubbing most weekends and not come home until around 4 a.m. He was not one you want to wake up early. Anyway, the next morning my dad bails to avoid the fallout. The Jehovah's Witnesses come early, as they said, and my grandfather was out the front gardening. They tell him that they were looking for Dad's twin. My grandfather was very confused because the family, and especially the twins, were very anti-religious. But they knew the name and said they had spoken to him the day before, so he went inside and got Dad's twin. My dad's twin wakes up like an angry bear who just got poked in the face. He hastily gets changed and goes to the front door to see who the hell just had him woken up. He gets to the door, the Jehovah's Witnesses give him a warm greeting and go to start their spiel, and he tells them to take off and slams the door in their face. The Jehovah's Witnesses turn to my grandfather, who is back outside gardening. They look shocked and confused, and my grandfather just shrugged at them and kept gardening. Oh, that's so cruel. Did these twins have a sort of prank war going on between them? Or was this just an isolated incident? Also, I think it's been a while since any Jehovah's Witness or any religious missionaries have been knocking on our door. I can't remember the last time that happened. Maybe that's due to the internet? Being able to reach more people that way than on the personal level of getting on people's property? It could also be in some places people are more willing to, take up arms against people on their property. What do you think? Story 2. One of my best friends has 2 sets of identical twins. One set girls, one set boys. And when they pull the twin swap, it's priceless. My favorite was when the girls swapped places in 2nd grade because one was failing math and the other was failing social studies. The teachers had no clue of the switch until after the tests were handed in. They swapped places only for those 2 classes to try and help the other out. The teachers both called them and their mom into school to talk to them. Their mom was busy and I wasn't, and she had me and our other BFF on emergency contact, so I went. Talking to the teachers, I said I saw the 2 of them studying their young butts off the night before and trying to help the other understand the subject. Teachers bought it. As we were leaving the school, as it was the end of the day, I asked them, Bella Twins prank? Bella Twins prank. Side note, the Bella Twins were identical twins that were part of WWE and would hide one twin under the ring and switch places during matches. The twin boys pulled a similar stunt for school, but did it for an entire day, switching back and forth like the Loud House twins, Lana and Lula. Nobody figured it out. Another one of my friends had a twin, but they looked nothing alike. Didn't stop her twin from trying to pretend to be my friend every chance she got. She was psychotic. I actually think that's hilarious. Fraternal twins still trying to pull the swap thing? That's actually pretty brilliant. Maybe they tried being each other for Halloween or something. I think everyone would have a good sense of humor about that. Story 3. This wasn't even intentional, but me and my brother, who is 3 years older than me, look a bit alike. During a senior assassin event at my brother's high school, for those who don't know, each person is given a week to terminate a target by shooting them with a water gun. Goes by each week until one winner. So anyways, during this event, I'm driving in my brother's car and we get home. For some reason, turning out to be a pure coincidence, the garage door opener isn't working. This means one of us has to get out to open the garage door more manually. Note, when we arrived home, there didn't seem to be anyone around. Suddenly, while I get outside and open the garage door, my brother's friend comes out of the bushes in a suit made of fake leaves and branches and repeatedly blasts me. I was shocked for a second, and then, as he started celebrating, I realized what just happened and started laughing and saying that it was not my brother. Then I realized that my brother is still in danger as he moves into the garage. We both rush for the car door, and as my brother's friend picks me up and moves me away, I grab the water gun and run. Long story short, it was very funny. Too long didn't read? Friend of my brother tries to surprise him, ends up shocking me instead, and it backfires. That could have gone either way. I could have just imagined the brother just selling his brother out. Sounds like they had a good relationship where they actually had each other's back. I wonder if that brother actually was able to get the drop on this guy later in the game. Story 4. I had twin daughters, 99% identical. Now I loved their mother, and I know she loved her girls, but I was literally the only one that could tell them apart. The one, the youngest, that's still alive today, still doesn't know how I could tell them apart. As they got older, their personalities really drifted apart. And the youngest got into exercising, and she bulked up. But in their younger days, if they played along, you couldn't tell them apart. So they used to switch boyfriends. They didn't do it to be mean or anything, but it was mostly just to get a laugh and see how well they paid attention. One particular date, they dressed the same, but had different hairstyles. One went to the bathroom, and the other came out. Only difference was hair, and not just a minor difference. They told me they swapped like 4 times, and the dude never said a word. Before the oldest twin passed away, they used to work at the same job. One would work one day, the other another, back and forth. Nobody said anything. When they went to law school, they couldn't pull any stuff with one of their professors or whatever his title was. He caught on real quick. He made them sit on either side of the class, and if only one showed up, he wouldn't let her in the class till the other showed up. Story 5. Not a twin, but I do have a story about twin brothers. Freshman year of high school, I had a class with Damien. I didn't even know he had a brother, let alone a twin. I never saw both of them together at the same time. I ran into Dimitri a few times outside of class and just assumed I was still talking to Damien. There were a few people who knew they were twins and that I was talking to the wrong twin, but no one, not a single person, even corrected me. Damien would just play along with whatever I said, pretending to be Damien. This went on for my entire first year of high school. The following year, I finally see for the first time that there are 2 of them. And they admit that I had actually met Dimitri multiple times before without realizing it. They didn't think it would go on as long as it did before I finally realized there were 2 of them, but we all had a good laugh about it and stayed friends throughout high school. We kind of lost touch after high school. Things like Facebook didn't really exist yet, so it was kind of hard to stay in touch with anyone after graduation, and we all went our separate ways into our adult lives. I wonder if they still remember the year I thought they were the same person. Story 6. I am a twin. However, not identical. We are complete opposites and look nothing alike. So clearly we can't switch places or confuse people or anything like that. But the best thing we can do is what we have and are still doing. We're decently close and usually don't say we're related. We go to the same school often, unless asked directly. We like acting like a couple, kind of. Like we'll hang out a lot, goof off, mention things about events that happened outside of school, whatever. And we'll mention each other in conversation a lot. We also say I love you to each other when parting ways for our different classes on occasion. We do all this just because it's how we are, but also in the underlying hope that people will think we're dating. We think it's funny, and so far we've only managed to make one person think we're dating. Our friends have never thought we were dating because it's pretty obvious to them that we were siblings because of our last names. Leaving and arriving at school at the same time, saying, hey, mom is here, etc. And all our friends are shared friends. Neither of us are very social, so only our friends know, and only some of them. Still fun, though. Hoping that when we go to a new school, we'll manage to confuse more people. So it's these 2. These 2 are the ones that keep that category on the corn sites going. You know that category I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention it here, but you know which one it is. These are the instigators right here. Story 7. Not an identical twin, but had a doppelganger in elementary and high school. Different people. So in elementary, I looked surprisingly similar to a friend named Taylor. We had a buddy system where grade 4 through 6 had buddies in the 1st through 3rd grade. In either 5th or 6th grade, I went to get some water by a nearby water fountain. As I stood up, this little girl looked at me and excitedly said, "Taylor! Taylor! Taylor!" hugging me in the last one. I was stunned for a second, but then gently pulled her off, stating I wasn't Taylor. Later that day, the girl and I crossed paths again, and she said, "Taylor, I saw someone today that looked just like you." I responded, "Yeah, that was me." Even still, the same day we crossed paths for a 3rd time. She asked, "Are you Taylor or the other girl?" My response in a lighthearted tone, "Here's a hint. If you see Taylor but didn't respond to you calling her name, she's me." In high school, it was another girl who looked like me. Some people mistook us as twins or sisters. I remember eating lunch alone when this guy sat down next to me and said, "So Shelley, I was thinking about our gourd project." I just leaned away looking at him. "Who are you?" Story 8. My whole life I have been horrible to tell people's faces apart, especially if they're similar siblings, twins or not. When I was little, about 5 to 7 years old, I couldn't recognize any of my uncles, my mother's brothers, until somebody called their names or they spoke something that would make me recognize them. I just ran to the door as soon as they came in, happy to see one of my uncles. But then I was just frozen at the door, looking at them and waiting for something. When I finally knew what uncle it was, I happily hugged them and called their names. I did similar to a pair of twins that I know, and with some cousins I have. The same situation as my uncles. Similar, but not twins. All of them are adults that I didn't talk to that much, so it was even harder to tell them apart. And for you guys to understand my problem with recognizing people's faces, I generally just looked at the very general of a person. Hair, skin, and maybe a detail that was off. That's why I thought Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Taylor Swift were all the same. I couldn't tell who was Beyoncé and who was Rihanna, and I forgot my own mother's face a few times. It was that bad. Story 9. My grandmother, who I call Nana, was a twin. When I was 5, she thought it would be funny to switch with her sister, my great aunt, when I came to visit her in Arizona. I'd seen my Nana many times and was attached to her, but I'd never met my aunt, only phone calls. I didn't know what a twin was. I didn't know two people could look alike. We went to a cowboy show. I saw my aunt and thought it was my Nana. I ran up to my aunt and scolded her that I was looking for her and couldn't find her. My aunt is gushing over 5-year-old me because we'd never seen each other in person. My Nana sneaks up behind me, taps my shoulder and says, "Who do you think I am?" I got caught on home-quality VHS at 5 years old doing a double take. I immediately knew who was who and grabbed my Nana by the leg, upset with the situation. Took a day for me to warm up to my aunt. I'm 35 now, and they're both no longer with us. I got one real good memory to remember them. Well, I'm glad it wasn't very traumatic for this 5-year-old. I'm sure they couldn't resist playing this prank, even though this girl was 5 years old. That's kind of weird to discover that's what a twin is. I wonder if that fostered some kind of interest because it just happened to her on a personal level in discovering this phenomena.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 10. I have 2 friends that are twins and look almost identical to each other to the point only people that are close to them, like me, can differentiate them, even if their voices are almost identical. Anyway, one of my twin friends had a boyfriend, and he didn't know his girlfriend had a twin, and they swapped places to troll him hard. They even dressed exactly the same and had the same hairstyle. The poor guy had the most confusing day of his life, to the point he was questioning his own existence and mental sanity. I thought of telling him the truth because I was kind of participating in the whole trolling scheme. By force, in a way. After the 24 hours of twin swapping were up, they explained everything to him. Poor guy was almost in tears because he thought he was going insane. Now, my other twin friend has a boyfriend too, and she asked me for help to troll him, but I refused this time. Never doing that again. Story 11. Unfortunately, I don't have a twin. Yet, I have a sister who looks exactly like me and sounds the same way. She's 2 years younger than me and wears glasses. Yet, people get us mixed up a lot and assume we're twins due to our looks and voices. So one day, my sister was at recess during school hours, and this boy comes up to her and asks, "Why did you leave robotics?" Note, I had joined and left the robotics club at my school, and my sister wasn't interested in it, nor joined it. I thought it was hilarious that they thought it was me, yet it was my little sister, who is noticeably taller than me. Another incident? I was walking to my class, and a boy walked past me saying, "Hello," my sister's name, and I have a lot more stories where that came from. Story 12. When I was 22, I dated a girl who had an identical twin sister. One day, they thought they would test if I could tell them apart, and my girlfriend's sister pretended to be her. If not for a slip-up of me using the wrong name, they would have gotten away with fooling me. I kind of got in trouble with my girlfriend for making out with her sister, as they thought I had known the difference due to the slip-up of names, and I pointed out to her that I was just going along with their game to see how far they would have taken the ploy, and that she should have been happy that I called out her sister before things ever went too far. Wait a minute. The sister made out with a boyfriend? Do you think the sister came up with this idea in the first place? Maybe she was crushing on her sister's boyfriend and wanted to, get a taste. Good on the guy for calling it out before it went too far. But the boyfriend is still kinda sus for making out with the sister when he knew it was her sister. Just a lot of curiosity all the way around. Story 13. I knew a pair of twins in junior high. With one of them I would talk in choir with. So I was very confused when I walked up to my friend in the hall, but she insisted it wasn't her. And then my friend had to explain that she switched places. But then later on, they were doing it for multiple days, so I went up to my friend, who I thought was still dressing up as her sister. I don't think her sister likes me that much. The main way you could tell them apart was because at the time, they were the kind of twins where one's designated color would wear pink and the other blue. Story 14. I was an electrician's apprentice, and I got teamed up with this surly old journeyman. So we worked on the same project for 3 days, me doing most of the work since he always seemed hungover. Thursday comes along, and he comes over with a chipper attitude and asks me what we were working on. I said the same thing we were working on all week. He had no idea what he was doing. I thought he had amnesia or something. Come to find out, he was an identical twin, and they pulled this stunt all the time. One would be drunk for a few days, then they would swap on the job while the other one drank all night. Story 15. Not a sibling, but a good friend. He looks exactly like me. We have the same skin tone, we're around the same height, have the same voice, even have the same eye color, with only slight differences. He has a little bit more lighter skin, and he's shorter than me by 2 inches. He is my younger brother. So everyone that comes up to us always asks us if we're twins. We always say yes. One day, we decided to play a little prank on some freshmen and to make it look like we were a time traveler. Some got so scared he jolted back and was in shock. Story 16. I'm not a twin, but 2 of my close friends are twins. I've known them since infancy and can actually tell them apart at least as well, if not better, than their own mother. One day, they were pulling one of their many switch places jokes. Twin A informed me ahead of time so I wouldn't accidentally spoil it. Twin B then came in later to take Twin A's place, and I casually used Twin A's name to play along. Twin B then gasped and said, "Wait, we actually fooled you into thinking I was A?" I said, "No, I was just playing along," but the joke was already given away. Story 17. Not a twin myself, but instead their victim. Every year I volunteer as staff at a summer camp. A few years back, we had these twins visit the camp. Twin A got elected as camp rep, which basically means that he's the official voice of the children. As such, he would join the staff for a section of their daily team meetings. Last day of camp, he comes in, talks about a few things, then says, "And for the next part, I better let my brother continue." Turns out, for 5 whole minutes, the wrong twin was attending the meeting. Story 18. My chemistry biology professor had an identical twin. Also a chemistry biology professor, though at a different school. You should have seen my face when I didn't know about that and met the twin on one competition. I got a lot of before-school tutoring in chemistry, so I knew his mannerisms fairly well. Biology competition. They were the exact same people. The style they dressed, the way they spoke, everything. If he wasn't obvious about meeting me for the first time, I would have never guessed it was a twin. Story 19. Rather different story. My brother and I are not twins, and we look absolutely nothing alike. He's 6'2" and 190 pounds. I'm 5'5" and 120 pounds. He has dark hair, I have red hair. Our faces are totally different. My wife's family had never met him until my wedding day. My father-in-law just stared at us and asked how in the world we could be brothers. We laughed and told him we had been getting that kind of reaction from people our whole lives, which is true, and we still do. Story 20. I'm an identical twin. During 3rd grade, me, my brother, and one teacher had the idea to switch classes for April Fool's Day. We went along with the plan without anyone knowing, not even our closest friends or even the principal. Unfortunately, the exact day we went along with the plan, the most annoying sub was in one of our classes, which actually made it pretty fun. My best friend Justin was the only one to figure it out by the end of class. Story 21. I'm not the twin in this situation, but one of my friends is. He wanted to mess with his classmates, and so he gets his brother to cover for him during PE, physical education. And everyone in the class knows he is terrible at football, soccer. Meanwhile, his brother used to be on the team. The brother is not chosen for the good team and proceeds to win the game for us. Only time we won that year. The looks on everyone's faces were priceless. Story 22. My mom would tell me about identical twins in her school in the 70s. They had the same hairstyle and would wear the same clothes. The only way to tell the difference is one had a bitter, rude disposition. The other was friendly and kind. Facial expressions were the only way to tell the difference, and you didn't want to say the wrong thing to the wrong one. Story 23. This would have been so funny for me. Unfortunately, I'm one of the people who had a purple butterfly on their bed at birth. If you don't know, when a purple butterfly is on a newborn baby's hospital bed, it means that the baby had a twin, but the twin perished at birth or sometime during pregnancy. I put purple butterflies everywhere, and I think of all the memories I could have made. Story 24. Not a twin, but my mother and I have very similar sounding voices. Our dog has a bad habit of searching the trash can, and he only obeys my mother immediately when she shoos him. But this day, when I heard him doing it and raised my voice, he obeyed, but got very confused when he saw me. Story 25. Out of all the different Ask Online for Juicy Stories vids, this is by far my favorite. Rather than scandalous activities resulting in raunchy stuff, it's scandalous activity resulting in goofy and hilarious moments. Gonna continue searching the dark web for more material like this. Story 26. My former colleagues are twins. They used that to do a job examination once because one of them was sick. But also, opposite things happened to them. Hey, weren't you here yesterday too? No, man, that was my brother. When they told these stories, it was always hilarious.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.